Hello drug addicts, hipsters, and gamers. Today I'll be taking a look at Rent a Girlfriend. Now back in 2020 I watched the first season as soon as it was done airing and I ended up enjoying it. I didn't think it was great or anything. Some of the characters I really didn't like and I was sort of pissed off by its ending. But still it was decent and I gave it a 6.7 out of 10. Well, that's what I thought for the past 2 years anyway. Since season 2 just wrapped up, I went and rewatched the first season. I expected to enjoy it a bit more than I did on my first watch, but surprisingly I ended up enjoying it a lot more. In fact, I had a very good time watching season 1 again, and I'd even go as far as to call the series great, or at least very entertaining. And I guess I should explain why that is, so without further ado, it's renting time.
There was a long line. You guys need something? We were just leaving.
Nice car.
So, the story begins with our main character Kazuya, who's wearing a Microsoft Edge shirt and is hanging out with his girlfriend Mami.
Sorry, I fell in love with someone else. Let's break up.
Bruh. Never mind, Mami the walking dog turd dumps him, and now Kazuya spends his time moping around in his room. There, he fantasizes about Mami getting fucked by some other guy and gets hard from it. Yeah, I'm not lying. This motherfucker is thinking about his ex being fucked by some random dude and is getting off to it. I don't think even I could come up with something that stupid. Anyway, after getting off for Affinity on his phone, Kazuya finds a site where he can drum roll please, rent a girlfriend.
He said it! He said pussy!
Yes, Kazuya rents a girlfriend named Chizuru for the day, and it's really cringy. During his date with her, he blushes a lot, then later Chizuru holds his hand. And like the moron he is, Kazuya actually thinks she might be into him. But once returning home, he finds out that holding his hand and everything else she did was just part of her routine, which pisses him off. So because he's so angry with Chizuru pretending to like him, even though that's her job, he rents her again shortly after. And just like their first date, it's still really cringy, except this time it's for different reasons. This time Kazuya acts like a... He's like, hey Chizuru, why is it that you hang out with losers like me and take her money? Why are you acting like my girlfriend? It's not like we're really dating. Later it gets so bad that he throws a temper tantrum at the fucking aquarium.
Don't fucking stare at me!
So Chizuru rightfully tells Kazuya to stop acting like a liberal baby, but then... Phone guy calls him and tells him that his grandmother's in the hospital. So Kazuya and Chizuru go see her and he tells his family that Chizuru is his girlfriend? So now Kazuya's family believes that he's dating Chizuru, which is a big problem, but there seems to be one even bigger than this. Not only is this the hospital where Kazuya's grandma is staying, but get ready for this. This is also the exact same hospital where Chizuru's grandma is staying as well.
You serious?
Yes, I'm serious. So the two of them try to hide and escape from the hospital, but their grandmas find them and they continue to lie by telling them that they're dating. Afterwards, they both agree to tell their families the truth soon, and the two of them go their separate ways.
Iridocyclitis.
Kazuya goes to his college campus and then... Yep, just when you thought this episode couldn't get any dumber, it also turns out that Chizuru just so happens to go to the same campus as Kazuya.
Wow.
What a way to end the first episode. And as the first episode of the series, it was both very cringy, very stupid, but also very entertaining. Having the series start off with Kazuya jerking off to his ex after getting dumped is so weird, and it's immediately followed by him renting a goddamn damn girlfriend. He's such a loser that he believed Chizuru had a thing for him even though she was only doing her job as a rental girlfriend. After realizing this, he goes out of his way to rent her again and acts like a giant cunt because he has nothing better to do. Then the two of them go to a hospital to see Kazuya's grandma, which just so happens to be the same hospital where Chizuru's grandma is staying too. And then to top it all off, Kazuya finds out that this whole time he and Chizuru were going to the exact same college together and are also fucking next door neighbors. This show is so stupid. But you know what? That's why I love it. Rent-A-Girlfriend is a series that knows exactly what it wants to be. It's a very over-the-top, silly, stupid, and cringy series that's full of coincidences and bullshit plot lines, but that's completely okay. I love stupid. Hell, I spend my spare time reviewing harems for Harambe's sake. Of course I love stupid. A bunch of harems are stupid, and yes, I don't care what Mal says, Rent-A-Girlfriend is indeed a harem. Anyway, yes, Rent-A-Girlfriend is not only stupid, but insanely stupid, which is why it works so well. Let's make one thing clear, this is not a genuinely good and well-written rom-com like Toradora, but instead, this is one that does not give a shit about anything except for being pure entertainment. Well, there's also the series stretching out its length as long as it can, but I'll get to that later. Anyway, like I said, this show is very, very stupid. This is a show where its main character literally rents a girlfriend. This is a show where someone's ex-girlfriend tries to break him up with his current girlfriend because she's such a terrible person that has nothing better to do. This is a show where a girl blackmails the main character into going out with her. This is a show where its main character stalks and secretly listens to its main heroine talking with someone else, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And just a reminder, this is only season 1 so far. I wouldn't be surprised if Kazuya does this again multiple times in season 2. So yeah, one big reason I like the show so much is because it's balls to the wall stupid. Now, even though a large majority of the series' appeal is due to its stupidity, I will say that while very minor and few, there are some genuinely good things in here. The series starts off like no other rom-com by having its main character get dumped by his girlfriend within the first 20 seconds. While everything else that follows this is really dumb, I will say that this is a pretty good hook to start a series. Another thing I really like about the series is how its cast is different from most harems, or more specifically, how some of the girls just come and go as they please. Typically in harems, once a new girl is introduced, they end up becoming a main or side character in the series. They don't just pop in and out whenever they feel like it. Once they're here for good. In Rent, there's Mami, who makes her first actual appearance in episode 2. She stays around for a couple episodes, but then leaves and doesn't come back until the last 2 episodes. And judging by the way she leaves Chizuru in the last episode, I have a feeling she'll be gone for a while in season 2, but that's just my guess. There's also Sumi, who doesn't appear until episode 11 and doesn't appear again until season 2. I'm interested in seeing how her and Mami are handled in the next season because again, I like that these two girls just show up whenever the plot needs them to. I guess in a way this keeps the series sort of fresh. Chizuru and Ruka are going to be the 2 main heroines of the series, but it's nice to see other faces every now and then. There's also another girl who's in the poster for season 3, so that'll be yet another side character added, but I won't be seeing her for quite a while. Anyway, the only other part of the series that is genuinely well written is Chizuru, but I'll get to her later on.
Shut your bitch ass up!
Now, while there are some good things in the show, there are unfortunately some not so good things as well. It's nothing bad, just some minor complaints I have. For example, there are some pacing issues, most notably seen in episode 8 where Kazuya follows Chizuru around all day. There's episode 10 where Kazuya's faggot friend goes on a date with Chizuru, which was just kinda boring. Like, I get it, it makes sense that Kazuya would want to cheer up his friend by having Chizuru go on a date with him and all, but it's not really that fun to watch. Lastly, there's this scene in the last episode where Kazuya tells Chizuru that he wants her, and then the credits roll for a few minutes. Then once the credits are done, the scene continues and he says,
Well, as my rental girlfriend, of course. That's all I meant. You're the only one I ever want to rent, and so it's gonna be so sad when you quit the job and move on. That's all I was trying to say, you know.
Fuck off. This is so dumb and not the good kind. I remember being really annoyed by this when I first watched the season, and I'm still irritated by it now, although not by a whole lot. As I said earlier, the series seems like it's trying to drag itself out for as long as it can, which is both good and bad. It's good because we get more Rent-A-Girlfriend episodes, but it's bad because the plot can get annoying and repetitive. That being said, since I don't take the show very seriously, I'm honestly not bothered by this too much. I'll be happy as long as the series continues to be dumb and enjoyable, and part of that dumbness and enjoyment comes from how cringy the show is. Yeah, there are some really hard moments to watch in Rent. There were times where I cringed out loud, clenched my fists, and even ended up punching my couch multiple times. So last year I reviewed Gamers, which was well known for being extremely cringy. The entire show only happens due to many misunderstandings, plus there are just some god-awful scenes to watch too. Even though Rent does have its share of cringy moments, I'd still easily say that Gamers has way more and is the cringier of the two. Also, as bad as Gamers is, nothing will ever top Watamote as the cringiest anime of all time.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
Anyway, I don't think I have anything else to say about Rent's first season. It's mainly just really stupid, cringy, and fun. It has some minor issues, such as its final scene being frustrating, but even then, it's not a big deal considering the rest of the episode was pretty good. It was amusing seeing Mami dick around with Chizuru for a while, plus Kazuya throws up too. But yeah, that was season 1, so now time to take a look at season 2. Well, I watched season 2 and surprisingly, it was still pretty damn good. The only reason I say surprisingly is because my expectations for it weren't that high. Ever since the season came out and was airing, it had a pretty low score on Mal, and even now is still ranked lower than season 1. I didn't look into why most people found this season weaker, but I assumed it would most likely be due to the plot not going anywhere, which I would disagree with. After a boring and unnecessary 2.5-minute recap of the first season, this season picks up where season 1 left off. Kazuya's worried about Chizuru quitting her job as a rental girlfriend in order to follow her dreams of becoming an actress. Because of this, he watches her perform at a play and realizes that she's a great actor. However, despite her performance, Chizuru still wasn't able to be recruited by a famous director who decided to choose the main lead instead. This makes Chizuru very sad, but Kazuya tries to cheer her up by telling her that he'll rent her out every week and help make her dreams come true. And with that, the first episode ends, and overall, it's probably one of the weakest episodes of the season. Don't get me wrong, it's still a decent episode, but compared to the rest, it's clearly one of the worst. The 2.5-minute recap kinda pissed me off, plus I wasn't really interested in Chizuru's play. It wasn't bad or boring, it was just kinda slow and not that entertaining. Thankfully, the last scene where Kazuya starts going apeshit in front of Chizuru is great, but besides that, the rest of the episode is just alright. I guess it is good that one of, if not the weakest episode in the season is the first episode, so it's nice to just get it over with. Mostly everything else that comes afterwards is pretty solid.
Ass!
It's basically just more of season 1, so I can't really complain. There's some good scenes with Mami, Sumi gets a lot more screen time, and of course, best girl Ruka gets some very spicy moments in here too.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
That being said, even though Ruka does get some great moments, I am a bit disappointed that she didn't get as much as I thought she would. I know she didn't get to do too much in the last couple episodes of season 1, but I still saw her as being one of the main characters in the series. Because of this, I expected her to get more screen time in this season, but sadly that wasn't the case. She does get some moments from time to time, but certainly not as much as I had hoped for. Most of the time in this season is unsurprisingly dedicated to Chizuru, which makes sense considering she is the main heroine of the series. Now, while this is true, I still think a bit too much time was spent on her. She does get a lot of good moments in the season, which I did enjoy, but even so, I still wish some of that time was given to Ruka.
64 bits.
But yeah, like I said, this season is just more of what season 1 had to offer. That being an enjoyable cast with a plot that was entertaining due to its massive stupidity. And yes, there are still a lot of stupid plot lines here. For example, there's episode 3 where Chizuru loses the key to her room, so that means he's forced to stay at Kazuya's house overnight. But it doesn't stop there, because it just so happens that Mami was in town and decided to go to Kazuya's house even though she's never been there. In the next episode, Ruka goes to Kazuya's house to cook him dinner and is set on sleeping over. Like the queer Kazuya is, he's against this and tells Ruka to leave. However, when she opens the door, it just so happens that a fucking typhoon started and won't stop until morning. In episode 6, Kazuya tries to rent Chizuru for one day, but she can't since she's busy with friends. Kazuya then goes to a drinking party with his friends, which also just so happens to be the place where Chizuru and her friends were going. Yep, this is Rent-A-Girlfriend alright. It's ridiculously stupid and I love it. However, since this is still Rent-A-Girlfriend, it also still has the problems that the first season had. There's still some minor pacing issues such as this drinking party scene, and not every moment in the episode is great. As dumb and fun as the series is, it's still annoying when stuff like Kazuya telling his family about Chizuru being a rental girlfriend gets interrupted by a fucking phone call. Like, I get it. If Kazuya were to tell the truth to his family, this plotline would just go away. I don't think this plotline is entirely necessary though, since this really isn't brought up too much in this season. In season 1, this was a big part of the story, but in season 2, we barely see Kazuya's family and not even that much of Chizuru's grandmother. I think there certainly is a story and timeline that's interesting where Kazuya tells his family and friends the truth at a much earlier time. I mean, Mami already knows that their relationship is fake, and now her part of the story is to keep Chizuru away from seeing Kazuya. It's interesting and fun to watch. You don't need to stretch this plotline out for a majority of the series, but I have a bad feeling it will. Still, even though this aspect is annoying, I can tolerate it since there's still a lot to like and enjoy. Oh yeah, remember when Kazuya threw up in the last season? Well, he does it again here because I guess the author has a fetish or something. Oddly enough, while this happens again, there isn't any more stalking or overhearing Chizuru talking with someone else. I guess the only thing that comes close to this would be when Kazuya and Chizuru were hiding from Mami when she came to Kazuya's house. I don't count this though, since Kazuya isn't stalking Chizuru, plus Mami doesn't really say anything anyway. So yeah, I guess I was wrong and I'm surprised that there weren't any more stalking scenes from the last season. Also, another thing that's gone for better or worse are the cringy moments. There are very few cringeworthy moments, such as when Kazuya was telling Chizuru that he'd rent her every week in front of a bunch of people. But besides this, and maybe only a couple other minor cases, the cringiness is gone, which again is for the better or worse. I can't really tell.
What the fuck?
That being said, since season 2 is basically just more of what season 1 was, I don't have anything else to say besides talking about its final episode. In it, we get a flashback which takes up about half the episode where Chizuru is living with her grandparents. She discovers that her grandmother used to be a talented actress, which is the reason she decides to become one herself. After that, her grandpa's driving around in his Tesla and... her grandpa goes to the hospital, but then...
No, don't pull. No.
Although we already knew this, Grandpappy dies and Chizuru is very sad.
Hey, yo, the pizza here.
Kazuya comes in and tells her that he's crowdfunding a movie and wants her to be in it. That way, her grandmother can go to the movies and see Chizuru on screen. The reason for this is because she's dying and doesn't have much time left to live, which has obviously made Chizuru depressed. Just like the last season, this is one of the rare instances where I'd say this is genuinely well written. Having Chizuru deal with the coming death of her grandmother is a serious subject, the series handles it well and it makes for an interesting plotline. But like I said, said, this is only one of the very few times this is the case. Everything else is just dumb harem nonsense, which is fine. Anyway, Chizuru obviously decides to go along with Kazuya's plan, and then the season ends. Without a doubt, this is a notably better final episode compared to season 1's. While I did enjoy seeing Mami dick around with Chizuru, I was still pretty frustrated after seeing Kazuya tell Chizuru that he wanted to be just his rental girlfriend. I mainly had an issue with this because once he says this, the credits roll and then it cuts back to him doubling down and saying just his rental girlfriend, which is stupid. Here we don't get any of that. We get a solid flashback of Chizuru's past along with her and Kazuya having a serious conversation about her starring in a film for her grandmother. It's a pretty solid episode. Not one of my favorites, but as a season finale episode, it's pretty good. So yeah, that was season 2 and it's just another 12 episodes of the series. It certainly has some issues, but overall it's very fun and stupid. And with that, it's time to move on to its cast of characters. Rent-A-Girlfriend's cast is kinda great, honestly. It's not perfect by any means, but most of the characters are fun and likable. Kazuya is a very weird case, but overall I actually do enjoy him. He's such a loser that he ends up being entertaining. Hell, the very first scene we see of him is when he's thinking of Mami being pounded by some stranger, which he's also getting off to. Not only that, but he's so pathetic that he actually rents a girlfriend, goes on a date with her, and then thinks she likes him when she holds his hand. He even Googles on his phone how to get back with his ex. What the fuck? He's so pitiful that I find him amusing. He's also a pervert that jerks off a lot, which is cool too. However, while he is perverted, he sadly is a pussy, which is why I found him less entertaining once Ruka gets introduced. Now he has a girlfriend who's fawning over him, yet he's too stubborn to not actually go out with her and fuck her. I know the reason for this is because he's in love with Chizuru, but still, Ruka is clearly the better choice. Just pick her, shove your tongue down her throat, and fuck her every night. But even though he is a pussy, he does have some redeeming traits, such as how much he wants to help Chizuru become an actress. So yeah, I'm sorta mixed on Kazuya. I liked him in the beginning because of how much of a loser he was, which he even admits himself multiple times.
Oh man, I'm such a loser.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself?
But now he has multiple girls that are in love with him and one who's fawning over him. So now he's kind of just in the same situation that a lot of other harem protagonists are in, and he's not making a move on any of them, which is frustrating. Still though, I can't dislike him for some reason. Maybe it's because of the first good impression I had of him, or maybe it's because of some of his redeeming traits, but overall, he's somehow alright. Besides him, there's the side characters, which actually aren't half bad. All of his friends are perverts and most of the time just talk about how much fun it is to jerk off. I'm not kidding. There's literally a scene where one of them asks when the best time to ejaculate is, and the answer is after the first time you've had sex. Yeah, that's pretty poggers. There's also Chizuru and Kazuya's grandmothers, which are both mildly entertaining and fun. But that about does it for the characters, or at least the ones that aren't the hot mamas. You know what time it is, gamers. It's time for the traditional waifu war, where I officially rank each girl from worst to greatest. It's piss and shit time.
Number 4.
Mami Nanami. For the last 2 years, I've detested Mami for being a bitch and such a terrible person. She's a girl who only went out with Kazuya because she was bored and had nothing better to do. Then after only a month of dating him, she lies to him by saying she's fallen in love with someone else and then dumps him. Once she sees that Kazuya is dating Chizuru, she gets so frustrated that she starts teasing and hitting on him, kisses him, and tries to break the two of them up. Even though she broke up with Kazuya months and now even a year ago, she still tries to fuck over and ruin his life because she's a giant cunt. It's crazy how much of a scumbag Mami is. And you know what? That's exactly why I really like her. Now don't get me wrong, like I just said, Mami is a terrible person, but that doesn't necessarily make her a terrible character. She's one of the most entertaining characters in the entire show because she's so awful and evil. I know this might be a dumb comparison, but she's sorta like Frieza from Dragon Ball. Frieza is a terrible person who goes around killing people because he feels like it. Even though he's a terrible person, he's still a fan favorite character because he's so fun and entertaining. Mami is the same. Since she's such a terrible person, it becomes fun seeing her try to fuck up Kazuya's life even though he's such a loser. I don't care what anyone else says, Mami is the villain of Rent-a-Girlfriend. And because she's the villain and not the main heroine, or at least won't end up with Kazuya, I'm able to enjoy her as a character. However, the same can't be said for her as a waifu, because as a waifu, she's god-awful. Even though she's a great villain, I would not want to deal with her in real life. If I ever saw Mami in real life, I'd run her over with a steamroller. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say Mami is one of the absolute worst waifus in any harem anime. Shitoge is still worse, but Mami is pretty fucking terrible too. And that's why she's worse, girl, because this is a waifu war, not a character or villain war.
What the dog doing?
Sumi Sakurasawa. Alright, let me just say that Sumi and Chizuru were extremely close to each other, but in the end I had to put Sumi at the number 3 spot. Even though season 2 has come out and Sumi got a lot more screen time, I still think Chizuru was ever so slightly better. Similar to Chizuru, Sumi is also a rental girlfriend, however she's nowhere near as good as Chizuru is. This is because Sumi is extremely shy and too nervous to talk to any of her clients. Because of this, Chizuru has Kazuya go on practice dates with her in order to make her less shy, which is slowly but surely working. The only weird thing I'll say about Sumi is that I don't get why she was introduced in the first season. She was only in 1 episode. What was the point? Wouldn't it be better to introduce her at the start of season 2? I don't know, just something that's always bothered me. So yeah, Sumi is definitely the least interesting girl in the series, but that's okay because she's shy and shyness is a major turn on.
I got food.
Chizuru Ichinose. Chizuru is not only pretty good, but also a pretty good tsundere. In my hour and 45-minute review of The Familiar of Zero, I discussed what makes a good and likable tsundere. The most important part of a tsundere is understanding why the character is angry and dishonest about their feelings. If we don't, then the character will just be a bitchy and awful person because that's just how they are. For Chizuru, we always understand why she's irritated at Kazuya. In the first episode, she gets rented out by him, and out of anger, Kazuya gives her her first ever 1-star rating. He rents her out again shortly after, starts yelling at her for no reason, which makes her lose her temper and starts yelling back at him. Not only that, but she goes to the hospital with him where she's forced to lie to his family and her own grandma into thinking that she's dating Kazuya. Even after all of this, she finds out that she goes to the same campus as him and is even his next door neighbor too. She can't catch a break and didn't ask for any of this. Chizuru didn't do anything wrong and was just doing her job. It's not her fault Kazuya was a jackass and lied to his family. It's not her fault that she goes to the beach with her friends and is forced to play as Kazuya's girlfriend again. She keeps getting fucked over by the plot. That's the only reason why she's so irritated around Kazuya. Also, I've said she's irritated and not angry because even when Chizuru is mad, she's not screaming at the top of her lungs most of the time. When she's annoyed, she doesn't act like a bitch unlike other tsunderes. She's just upset, and again, rightfully so. Also, when she isn't irritated and raped by the plot, she does have her good side. She is a good and caring person, and again, is only irritated a fair amount of the time due to Kazuya and the plot consistently pissing her off. She wants to become an actress and live out her dream, but can't because life sucks, plus her grandma's dying too, so that's even more for her to deal with. But yeah, Chizuru is really good. Also, hot take, but she looks better with her glasses on.
Number 1 pieces.
Ruka Sarashina. You all knew this was coming, plus I even said it earlier, but either way, Ruka is best girl and by a landslide. Mami might be a great antagonist, Sumi might be cute, and Chizuru might be a very well-written tsundere, but nothing can top clinginess. We learned that in my Nisekoi review, where Tachibana toppled everyone because she was very cute, but most importantly, extremely clingy towards Raku. Ruka is actually quite similar to Tachibana, where she's born with an illness and quickly falls madly in love with the main character. Not only that, but she's also so in love with him that she'll do anything to get with him. Ruka can be kind of an asshole at times, but it's all for getting inside Kazuya's pants, so that's a-okay. She'll tell Mami to go fuck herself right to her face and tell Chizuru that she should stop seeing Kazuya because he and his family love her more than they love her. Wow, what a woman. If I were Kazuya, I'd be kissing, groping, and smashing the shit out of her every night after a round of Fortnite. Although I really liked Ruka before, I didn't think too much of her. But after my rewatch and after watching season 2, she's now in my top 15 favorite waifus because I realized just how hot she actually is. So yeah, Ruka is clingy and clinginess is always great, which is why she's by far best girl. I want to fucking marry Ruka just as much as the author wants to fucking marry Chizuru. Easily the worst aspect of the anime is its art, but even then, it's not bad by any means. The anime was animated by TMS Entertainment, and they're certainly a good studio, just not one known for having impressive animation. They've made some pretty solid series, such as Dr. Stone and the Fruits Basket remake, but even so, those series weren't anything special in terms of their production. Rent-a-Girlfriend's animation is pretty average and underwhelming most of the time. You pretty much know what to expect from an anime with mediocre animation. There's a lot of stills and panning shots with little movement. Now, one redeeming quality about its art is its appealing character designs. Even for a harem series, all of the girls look really damn cute. Because of their cuteness and hotness, I can be distracted, get hard, and forget that the series isn't well animated. So yeah, the anime doesn't look very good, but also not bad either. It's passable, I guess.
Don't be stupid. She's gonna punch me again.
Rent-a-Girlfriend soundtrack is actually pretty good too. I listened to it all on YouTube and realized just how much I genuinely enjoyed it. It's not an amazing OST by any means, but well above average. There's a good amount of upbeat, slow, and techno music in here, so I'm sure you'll like at least some of them. The opening and ending themes are all pretty solid as well, although the first season's opening is still by far the best. It's very catchy, and I'll usually end up singing it autistically whenever I hear it. Besides its soundtrack, there's its English dub, which I also really liked. Unlike most Funimation dubs, many of the voice actors here haven't done too much else outside of this. Now, this isn't like Karen, where many of the voice actors were just picked up off the streets and thrown into a recording booth. The voice actors here are fairly talented and have done a fair amount of roles outside of this, but because they haven't done as many roles as some of Funny's other actors, this made a lot of them unrecognizable, which was a nice change. Usually I'm able to tell who voices who in English dubs, which is both good but also distracting at times, but here that didn't really happen. So if you don't like hearing the same voices in dubs, then give Ren's dub a try. All the actors do a good job, and we even get some funny deliveries and lines like these.
That girl is so out of your league, bruh.
Well, that was Rent-a-Girlfriend, and Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. That sure was a lot better than I remembered it being. Maybe it's because I was too hard on it before, or maybe it's because I didn't realize how fun and stupid it truly was. But either way, I now love the series, and it even made its way into my top 10 favorite harem anime. And with that, I'm giving Rent-a-Girlfriend an 8.16 out of 10. Both seasons are great, and I can't wait for season 3 to come out. When it does, you bet your ass I'll be reviewing it. Anyway, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, then you can leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, or even support me on Patreon. Link in the description. Peace out, renters, and remember to vote Republican in the midterms.